Hello, everyone. I'm Kennedy.
And I'm Vashisht.
We run Changemaker Z, a student-run initiative that aims to empower, educate, and connect Gen Zers interested in entrepreneurship.
We interview teenagers with impactful projects and create resources to help you change the world. If they can do it, so can you.
On this podcast, we discuss the logistics of creating different types of projects with Gen Zers who have already done it. We will leave our social media and website information in the description. You know what the world needs right now? More male businesses. Said no one ever. Did you know that 88% of all women-owned businesses generate less than $100K yearly? Only 4.2% of women hit $1 million in annual revenue. Well, Cubicle to CEO is a media company elevating the financial footprint of women entrepreneurs through their award-winning podcasts, digital programs, and events. They are making mentorship more accessible to all women. Personally, listening to other entrepreneurs and changemakers has been a huge motivator in my life. That's part of the reason I joined Gen Zers to Rise. No, it's not just because I like to talk. Cubicle to CEO, hosted by Ellen Yin, is a weekly show bringing you case study interviews with leading entrepreneurs and CEOs so you can borrow a specific new revenue growth strategy from each guest that has already been successfully implemented into their own business. You'll love Ellen's transparent quarterly income report episodes, where she shares exactly what her media company makes, spends, and profits every 90 days. Want to use the best income growth strategies from top entrepreneurs and CEOs, including Ellen herself? You can binge listen to past income reports on Cubicle to CEO today, plus receive free access to your first 10K month roadmap and a bonus workbook by going to our special link. I got y'all. It's zen.ai/GenZCEO. That's zen.ai/GenZCEO. See you there.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Gen Zers Rise podcast. On the show today, we are featuring a really interesting subject, which is the instability in international politics and its global effects on common people by AIN, which stands for Asia International News. Asia International News is a youth-led organization. They believe that young people are the leaders of tomorrow. In this modern era of progress and success, we face a lot of problems in our day-to-day life. One of those problems is staying updated about the events happening all around the world, and moreover their own city. They aim to solve the problem by creating a platform where a person will be able to stay updated about everything that's happening all around the world, and even in their city. With us in the studio is Naman Vashisht. Welcome to the show, so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Now that we get into the subject about AIN, and before we get into the real subject of this episode, which is the political instability, would you like to say to us what was the motivation behind the creation of the Asia International News?
Well, we have started this channel, this organization, because these big organizations, as you see, focus on the main events happening in big countries, big cities that are not usually of much help to the common people that live outside of those countries or those cities. So we intend to share the news from most of the cities of the world so that everyone can be updated about what's happening around them.
That's great, that's so interesting. So, let's start with the political instability. What exactly is political instability?
Well, when due to external or internal disturbances such as protests or economic crashes or social conflicts or even tussle of power between different levels of government internally, when such a situation arises, the political movement cannot be predicted, and there's a lot of haze in the movement of these political representatives or executives. Crisis of a country or a group of country can be inadequately handled, as we have seen in the case of many countries, like latest being Sri Lanka. So this results in the collapse of the politics of the democracy or the political systems of some countries. That's political instability.
That's a serious problem. So why is political instability an issue?
It is an issue because once a country's political system fails, due to the reasons that I have just listed, it may result in the fall, in a domino effect that may result in the fall of the countries that are connected to it. Like in the case of Sri Lanka, we have seen that it sent shockwaves around Southeast Asia, from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh. Pakistan already has an economic crisis going on, and Bangladesh just asked for another IMF loan. So it affects not only the country itself, but the neighboring countries and the citizens. So millions and millions are affected.
I see. So I have a question. How is it transformed to an international problem? Like we have a local problem with the country and the surrounding countries, but how this can be evolved to an international problem?
Well, in case of some countries, like if their economic system falls and then their political system falls, then it results in loss of trade, and then it becomes a problem of diplomacy. It may result in wars, it may result in mass problems of exports. Maybe like in Ukraine, it exported most of the wheat of the world, and now it isn't able to export it because of the war that has caused a global food crisis. So in such cases, a country may have a political failure, a political crisis going on, and it may affect other countries all around. It is not just concentrated to just an area of the world, but the whole world can be affected.
I understand. According to your resources, which are some global effects on common people?
Well, first is inflation, of course. When a crisis occurs, the prices of goods just soar steeply. We see a steep rise in the prices of even the most basic stuff, the basic needs of a person. And then there's the hunger crisis that occurs. The poverty rates increase drastically. The lack of education, as the teachers may be protesting or the parents may not have enough money to send their children to school. Lack of healthcare and stress on local governments to ensure protection of its people. And of course the migration crisis that occurs, that causes the issues in the neighboring countries, maybe increasing tensions between them.
I see. So, like, we have seen problems could be on the healthcare systems, on the education system, on the administration, and the lack of funds and resources can lead to huge problems like the possibility of people not to be able to support their dreams, their children, their country. Which actions can we take to prevent these effects?
Well, first, to be honest, politics is a pool of democracy, and it is kind of not in our control to make them do things. But actually, if we elect the right people whom we trust, if these topics, these social issues reach to the common man, and they know the solutions to it. Like in the case of Sri Lanka, for example, the people could have uh, peacefully protested against the government's policies, as they, like, in an action which was very controversial, the Sri Lankan government introduced a ban on inorganic farming, like a total ban. So it caused major disruptions in food market. So if in such cases you can form large groups and do peaceful protests, the government should also open a channel of discussions with these groups that they think are not satisfied. You see, democracy is all about discussions, and the person who knows the right questions to ask and the government who knows the right answers to those questions, will never fall in these unfair, unfortunate things.
I understand. I have an extra question for you. Right now, we're going to be in a field of unbiased president, but maybe we have to think about it. You said that democracy is the pool of discussion, and maybe it's the basics of having a world where people can communicate and go against wars, and this can be the solution. And democracy exists for a very long time since the ancient Greeks. But do you think that there maybe could be another political system that we haven't invented right now? We don't know the exact form of it, but in the future could be better than the democracy, the system of democracy. Since democracy was created for very few people to communicate, and in nowadays we're trying to extend its form and transform the way it works to a bigger audience. What do you think about that?
Well, honestly, the types of governments that we have tried until this very moment, from the Romans, from the monarchies, from the anarchies, to modern day communism and everything, the best way to lead a country is by democracy. Because up until now, democracy is where people can communicate with their leaders, people can choose their leaders, people can change their leaders if they are not satisfied by them. But as you said, that there may be a form of government that we have not yet invented. But you see, democracy was invented for the people who wanted to govern. It is their job to govern. For the common man, he is very busy. He has his job. He has to take care of his family. He has to make a living. He has to make sure that they have the food for 3 times a day. I don't think he has time for basic low-level politics. And even if they had time, so 1 hour in the evening for discussions about what they should do about the country, then there is no real way one can take the opinion of 1.5 billion people in a country, because unity will be hard to maintain, a government will be hard to maintain, policies will be hard to maintain. And so I believe that democracy, as of now, is the best thing we can lead our countries by.
I see. How does the Asia International News Organization help to go against political instability?
We make the youth, our viewers aware of what causes these types of political instability. We we plan to organize seminars, offline debates about the social issues that affect a country's politics. We intend to make our viewers and the youth of the world aware about the mishaps and disadvantages of the unstable political system. Of course, we will also interview and have discussions with political leaders, and we will also take their point of view, try to understand their point of view in this, in how to not slip into in a situation of political instability. But of course, we try to make our viewers as aware as we can about the disadvantages of political instability.
That's great. I have a personal question for you. How did you get started getting involved with politics and youth politics?
Well, personally, I had a very keen interest in politics since I was a child. And since then, the first time I got I developed real interest in politics was during the 2014 elections of India, the general election for the prime ministerial post. In those elections, you see, the first ever non-Congress party won the majority for the first time in India's independent history. That got me interested in the Indian politics. Then, as the years went ahead, I understood greatly what the real meaning of democracy was, how the different governments try to keep themselves in power, even if they do subvert the fact that you overturn the will of the people in corrupted and these unlawful ways. It interested me that how one can be so much corrupt, honestly. And from that, I went to watching videos and documentaries about Indian politics and politics all around the world. And AIN, I started it because I wanted the youth to get more aware about these issues, that not every government, not every party is as nice.
Alright, so I think that this is the end of the episode. Thanks to everyone who has stayed until the end. Also thank you, Naman, for being with us today. We learned about the SCA International News Organization, and we dived deeper on international political instability and its global effects on common people through a youth vision perspective. Check out AIN social media handles and website in the description below. But until next time, don't forget to change the world. Bye!
Thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed our conversation. We had such a great time. Make sure to leave us a review. If you want more Changemakers content, you can follow us on Instagram at Gen Zers to Rise and on Facebook at ChangemakersZ.